Hello, everyone. Hope all of you is doing fine. We're back today with the sessions on the world's biggest to-do list here from Copenhagen, Denmark. My name is Clara, and today we're going to talk about this one: responsible consumption and production. And if we really want to do something to ensure a sustainable future, then our consumption and our production is something that we really have to change. Right now, the amount of things that we are consuming are way too huge, and a lot of it is quite unnecessary. Thus, responsible consumption and production are the Achilles heel of a lot of countries, especially also here where I live in Denmark. Uh, and we really have to do something if we have to change this. Although the planet has provided us with the abundance of natural resources, the rate of which we consume these are way too high and it's way exceed the natural capacity. Thus, this one, gonna grab it again so you can see it, global goal number 12, aim to reverse all of these bad habits we have by slowing down the rate of which we're consuming and also building the infrastructure necessary for recycling and for making the production of goods resource efficient and as independent of finite resources such as fossil fuels as possible. An example of what this goal is also covering is the fact that a number shows that in Great Britain, 1.4 million bananas are going to waste every day. It's bananas that are ready for eat, that are been grown far away from Great Britain, and then it's shipped or flown a lot of kilometers just to end up in a trash bin in Great Britain. And this problem is not just about bananas. Around 1/3 of all groceries in the world end as trash. It means that we have, on the good side, a great possibility if we're starting to look at the wasted food as a resource that we need to to handle in a better way. And this is of course also interlinked closely with this one goal too, around zero hunger, that if some of the food going to waste could actually uh, go to people in need, then yeah, this goal or lowering food waste would actually also help us reach goal 2 about zero hunger. But it's not just the food that we produce way too much of. It's also a lot of other things that we produce and that we buy and we use that we don't need and that is not produced under good working conditions. That was what we also discussed when we discussed this one global goal number 8. This means that not just that we use way too many resources, but also that the production and the transportation of all these goods uh, are destroying our environment, both locally but also globally. And this means that we also have to look into the production of these things, how we can do it in a less harmful way, how we can do it more sustainable, taking better care of the environment. Thus, before 2020, which is actually this year, we have to handle the chemicals, the things we use in production in a more environmental, sustainable, and responsible way. If you look into the targets of this goal, global goal number 12, then it can be divided into 3 categories. It's about consumption, it's about production, and it's about, as I said before, the efficient waste management and recycling systems. Thus, consumers should buy better but less, meaning that the goods we are buying should be of a higher quality and we should buy fewer of those. So to consume better and less, 2 parts of overall philosophy, you can say, to buy quality products that are made to last longer and than the different cheaper alternatives. This perspective confronts the tendencies that we see, for instance, in the fashion industry, where fast fashion is a concept, and a lot of clothes is produced under quite bad working conditions, and are used way too little and then thrown away, not recycled. So what this goal wants to do is to promote a consumer mentality to buy only what you need instead of buying what you want or what could seem like a good offer at the moment. And I guess all of us know that if you see a good offer, then sometimes you would have a tendency to wanting to buy it. Furthermore, global goal number 12, encourage the producers as well to find new ways of organizing themselves and find smarter way of doing things. And then in that way, it also intersect with the 11th goal of creating sustainable communities. That was the goal that we discussed last week. One good example, I think, of this is the boom we have seen recently in sharing services in the cities, encouraging people to rent cars, share cars, bikes, or similar, instead of buying things that you only use rarely. So, to promote a sustainable philosophy of consumption, it's also aimed at decreasing the resources that we spend on producing things. And looking into the goals and targets of is what I mean, the targets of this goal, global goal number 12. Then the first one, 12th one, is to implement a 10-year sustainable consumption and production framework. And it encouraged all countries to take action, with developed countries taking the lead, taking into account that the development and capabilities of developing countries. And target 12.2 is a sustainable management and use of natural resources. That was what we discussed in the beginning, that by 2030 we have to achieve sustainable management and the efficient use of our natural resources. Then target 13 or 12.3 is to halve the global per capita of food waste. That was the example I gave with the bananas, and that we have to halve the per capita global food waste at the retail and consumer levels, and reduce food losses along production and supply chains, including these post-harvest losses that are seen. So this is also a focus of this goal. Then target 12.4 is a responsible management of chemicals and waste. That was what we also discussed earlier, that by this year, 2020, we have to achieve the environmental sound management of chemicals and all waste through their life cycle in accordance with agreed international frameworks, and significantly reduce the release to air, to water, and soil in order to minimize the adverse impact on human health and the environment. Then target 12.5 is substantially reduce the waste generation by 2030. We have to reduce the waste that we are generating through prevention, to reduction, to recycling and reuse. That we simply, what this target says is that we have to produce less waste overall, and we have to reuse the waste that we are producing in a more sustainable way. Then target 12.6 is to encourage companies to adopt sustainable practices and sustainability reporting, encourage companies, especially large and transnational companies, to adopt sustainable practices and to integrate sustainability information into their reporting cycle. So encouraging the private sector to be more sustainable and to adopt practices into their daily work and reporting on how they work with sustainability. Then target 12.7 is to promote sustainable public procurement practices, promote procurement practices that are sustainable in accordance with the national policies, of course, and the national priorities. Then target 12.8 is to promote universal understanding of a sustainable lifestyle by 2030, ensure that people everywhere have the relevant information and awareness for sustainable development and lifestyle in harmony with nature. And I think this is quite key in order to reach these goals, that we have to make sure that everyone knows why sustainability is important and how you can change your lifestyle, making it more sustainable. Then looking into the different measures of how we should reach this goal, then measure 12A is to support developing countries' scientific and technological capacity for sustainable consumption and production, support the developing countries to strengthen these mechanisms, this scientific, technological, it's difficult for me to say, capacity to move towards more sustainable patterns of consumption and more sustainable patterns of production. Then measure 12B is to develop and implement tools to monitor sustainable tourism. It was also what we discussed when we discussed global goal number 11, that we have to make sure that the whole tourism sector is also moving into a more sustainable sector and adopting sustainable practices. Then target 12C is to remove market distortion that encourage wasteful consumption, to make sure that the market is actually also working in favor of more sustainability. Then, of course, as I always do, I brought some different examples of how and some news of how this goal is actually going on, how we see that out in the world and globally, initiatives are taken in order to make sure that we reach this goal before 2030. And the first one is news from China, who have abandoned single-use plastic. China joined the group of countries who wants to abandon this use of single-use plastic, even forbidding some products being produced. And new legislation in China actually forbids the use of plastic bags in the large cities by late 2020, and spreading the law to the rest of the country towards 2022. And this law is a supplement to a law from 2009, who were forbidding stores to give out plastic bags for free. Then the other news is about packaging, because in these days, and especially in these times where we'll all be locked in due to the current pandemic, a lot of shopping is done online and not in stores, and that has resulted in a massive boom of packages being delivered from web shops to consumers. And it is often the case that a package is way too big, and all of you who have gotten a package delivered know this. So there's leaving exact space that is filled with plastic foam to protect the product that you've been buying. And a new intervention has used 3D scans to scan the product and then design a customized cardboard box, minimizing the usage of both cardboard and plastic, and leaving less waste once the product has reached its destination. I think this is a very concrete example of a problem being solved with ensuring that you're only using the resources that you need in order to deliver the product safely. Of course, we're back with the teams and the different teams who have been playing for this goals. And this goal, I have to find it on the ball, global goal 12. A lot of teams have been playing, but the one I want to highlight today is Team Ohne Grenzen from Berlin, but who played in the Global Goals World Cup here in Copenhagen. And they actually won the Sustainify My Uniform prize, because what they did, they decided to design and create their own football jersey and training material with recycled goods. And they did that actually using another goal, this one, partnership with goals, by partnering up with another local NGO and involving their neighborhood. And another thing, and I just want to highlight with this team, is that what I think is really nicely is that they work, besides focusing on sustainability, that was a thing they chose to do, because what this team is actually also doing is that they want to create access to football for adult refugees, women in Berlin, through cost-free football practice, further leisure time activities, and formations to both the players and other football instructors. And I think this is also just a really great example of actually having a really nice focus already, and then also choosing to fight for one of the other goals, this one, sustainable consumption and production. We're almost done with today's session. But before we end, because this is the world's biggest to-do list, because it's also about all of you doing something in order for us to reach this goal. And I put, as I always do, the suggestion for what you can do up here in the description of the sessions. But on today's to-do list is, first of all, that you should only buy what you need. Instead of buying new things, you should see if you could borrow things from friends or family, if possible, before you buy something. And if you buy something, and that's the second challenge, then buy secondhand, especially clothing and other products that has a shorter life cycle. Then we talk a lot about food waste, and that's the third challenge of today. You should decrease your food waste. Make sure that you only prepare the amount of food that you can actually eat, and you use the groceries you already have before you buy new ones. And then the last challenge 4, is to buy food produced locally and food that is in season, because it has, of course, a shorter transportation time, and it's also important to support local food producers. So I hope, because now we're ending the session, that you enjoyed it, first of all, but also that you will go out and do something, because if we have to reach the goals before 2030, it's also about all of us acting, all of us actually wanting to act and do a change. I'll be back tomorrow with a session on this one, Global Goal 13, climate action. Hope to see you there. Bye.